And what a Prime Minister's Question Time that was. With me now to go through how it went to my fantastic panel, Conservative MP for Bassett Law, Brendan Clark-Smith, and Shadow Local Government Minister from Labour, Mike Amesbury. Mike, when we spoke before Prime Minister's Question Time, you said he should fess up.
Yes.
He's done so. He has apologised. He said he understands people anger. Time to move on?
It was a non-apology. It wasn't even a qualified apology. He referred to it technically falling within the rules. He now needs to do the honourable thing. He does need to resign. If he doesn't resign, I think Keir Starmer was very strong on this. He's very, 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 very clear. Then it's up to members of the Conservative Party to remove him. He's bringing dishonour on the office of Prime Minister.
Brendan, he still is sort of saying it was a work event. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never been to work and told to bring a bottle.
Yeah, I mean, I think sitting at your desk with a packet of crisps and a drink, you know, I think a lot of us do that, in not just Westminster, in a lot of workplaces. And I do think saying wait for the inquiry was simply not enough. So I think the apology was really, really important, and I think he got that in early, was very conciliatory about it. And as the Prime Minister said, you know, he takes ultimate responsibility for it. You know, he's the Prime Minister, it's number 10, it is his operation there, and whilst he may not have organised whatever it was, I think it's important he did confirm that he was present as well there, even though it was for a limited amount of time. He maybe didn't know exactly the details of it, and that's what the inquiry will actually bring out. But at the same time, I think the Prime Minister, he has been conciliatory. He has apologised, which I think is really important to take responsibility for that, Gloria.
In the polls this week, 66% of voters think the Prime Minister should stand down. Do you think following his apology today, that number will come down?
I think some people will be satisfied with the apology, certainly. I think the wider issue, I think, about parties and so on and investigations, I do think that's going to need to be revisited. And as I say, if people have broke the rules and the investigation says that, then I would expect heads to roll, obviously, with that. The Prime Minister's given his case there, but I think the public want to see people treated fairly. You know, they stuck to the rules. The vast majority of people did. The Prime Minister claims that he did. We have this grey area. Of course, the Leader of the Opposition has used the workplace defence with having a drink and so on before. You know, I didn't criticise over that because I understand that there is that grey area, but at the same time I think the public really know the difference between what is an actual party as well, and if it is shown that there has been a party, you would expect something to be done about that.
Now, Mike said that the Prime Minister should resign. The only people that can actually force out a Prime Minister are Conservative MPs, a point that Mike made. Now, I sort of don't expect you to be honest about this, but just tell me what the mood is like on your benches.
Generally, I think people are frustrated. Obviously, there's this drip of things coming out. You know, I think whether someone's got sour grapes, I wish they would just put it all into the public forum so we can actually have a proper discussion on this. But, you know, MPs, we believe in our Prime Minister. We want him to achieve things. It's been a very difficult period for all of us, and there's been a lot of successes and so on, but at the same time we want to be a very professionally run outfit, and we want to give the right impression to the public. So I think it's right that we really hold people to account with that, and we do get the answers, but at the same time this idea that suddenly there's some mass rebellion against the Prime Minister and all these letters going in is just simply not the case.
I would say sorry then for saying that, but I don't expect you to be honest, because I thought you gave quite a frank account, and I am grateful for that. Do either of you do either of you have a bet ever? There's a question for this. Yeah. There's a reason why I'm asking this question, because I want you to. What do you think the odds are of Boris Johnson still being the leader of the Conservative Party come that next election? Might help you if he is there.
I mean, the only time I bet is the Grand National. I will say that. But if I were to bet on this one, I'd say the odds are particularly going against certainly the Prime Minister at the moment. And of course, I'd like to see the reality of this Prime Minister gone. Yes, I would say that. Obviously, being a Labour MP, But I don't think there's any grey area, Brendan, here. I think, credit to you for coming on to defend the undefendable, I suppose. But, he not only broke rules, he broke the law, and he's Prime Minister. And it can't be one rule for the Prime Minister and the government and a rule for everybody else. People out there, as certainly Chris, one of the questioners today, said, they're not stupid. They know the reality of this. Got to do the honourable thing and go. And if he won't do it himself, then it's up to the likes of yourself, Brendan, or your colleagues to get rid for the good of the country.
Are you betting that is going to be a leader come that next election, Brendan?
I do like a better occasionally. I hope the Prime Minister will be in place. He's been very successful so far. I think I'm 200 to 1 the last I checked. So for those at home that don't know betting, that means if you stick £10 on that you would lose £10. So I've got faith in the Prime Minister.
This point that Mike made there and that the Labour Party are going to, I suspect, repeat and repeat and repeat. This is a government and a Prime Minister who thinks they're above the rules, where there is one rule for them and one rule for everyone else. That's quite dangerous.
It is, and you can't have that. And if laws have been broken and rules have been broken, then I'm the first person who will stand up and say that there should be some accountability for that. And people have walked the plank, so to speak, in the past because of that. The Prime Minister has said that obviously he believes he's acted within the rules, and he said let's wait for the inquiry and so on.
Do you think he's acted within the rules?
Based on the information I've seen and from what the Prime Minister has told us, yes, I do. I believe what the Prime Minister's saying. I think he's innocent until proven guilty. If the inquiry says something different, then obviously we have that discussion when we come to it. But at the same time, it's about fairness, Gloria, and people just want to see fairness, and they also want to see integrity from us as politicians in public office. So I think if we start from that basis, I think that's the right place to go.
Let's move on to the other big issue in politics. And
this is the washing machine, isn't it?
Yeah. We're not going to talk about Alberto Costa's washing machine and microfibres, although he has been on this show to discuss his campaign. Yes. The cost of living.
Yes.
Mike, your party held a debate and a vote yesterday in Parliament. Your party wants to scrap VAT on energy.
Yes.
That would provide a bit of help in cutting bills, but the Prime Minister's argument is that it's not particularly progressive because if you cut VAT on energy, then all of us who are quite well off would benefit.
Well, it's more than that. We're talking about a windfall levy as well. So tax, a one-off tax it's a temporary basis. Those with the broadest shoulders are obviously profiting from this at the moment. So the major energy companies and gas companies. Of course, Boris Johnson, he said that one of the benefits of Brexit would be that flexibility around VAT, and he cited fuel bills. And now he seems to be changing his picture. Look, it's a quick way to get money out of the door. Of course, those on a fixed income, which some are pensioners as well, it will help those. So that'd be £200 bringing the bills down. We'd also give an uplift to the winter fuel payment, and that would be £400. So £600, bringing those astronomical fuel bills down. And it's funded. And yet we've yet to see anything from the Conservative government and the Prime Minister at the moment, who are obviously busy making Downing Street party central.
Brendan, the Prime Minister, who wasn't the Prime Minister then, but he was a leading figure in the Leave campaign, he did promise to cut VAT on energy when he was a leading voice in that Brexit campaign. He promised Sun readers, he wrote a piece in The Sun saying that fuel bills would be cheaper if we left the EU. So do you want him to cut VAT?
In principle, it's fine. But when you actually look at it, Gloria, it's 5% of people's bills. That works out just over £1 a week, really. That's not really going to make the huge difference we need if the wholesale prices are shooting up. We have green levies. They make up a significant proportion of people's bills. Now, we're not saying let's completely scrap all the move away from fossil fuels and net zero and so on. I think you can still do that and bring people's bills down. But it's about investing in things in the past that hasn't happened. So I would point to things like nuclear, which generates a huge amount of power that perhaps we haven't explored that. Now we are, which I think is a good thing, but it's bringing down that wholesale price. And I think giving people a £1 a week reduction from VAT isn't really going to cut it. And I think of some of the things that we've mentioned, schemes that are currently there, like the Warm Homes grant, I would rather money went into that than a VAT cut, so we can actually target it. Because, I don't need to save £1 a week. I don't need a VAT cut on my fuel bill. But there are people out there that do actually need help. I would rather target the help at them.
Why is your party going to exacerbate the cost of living crisis by putting up all our taxes in April?
Well, I'm a small state Conservative. I like my low taxes. I like government to get out the way generally. I think it's been very, very difficult with the pandemic. We had the national insurance increase. Of course, that was in that manifesto that we weren't going to do that. Then COVID came along. But I think if we get to the situation where people can't visit a doctor, or we have the cost of social care, which is a growing problem, really, and we haven't addressed that, then I think things are going to be far worse. So I think we've had to make some very difficult decisions. Of course, when you spend money, that needs to be found from somewhere, and we're trying to be responsible rather than creating more debt. But if we can grow the economy and we can get out of this difficulty that way, then we can start looking at cutting taxes and cutting the cost of living as well.
Mike, I'm guessing your constituent, did it vote to leave your part of the world?
It was split pretty much down the middle. So it was, yes, well, it's 50-50.
Now, of course, you're in a poll lead at the moment, but it's midterm. Ed Miliband had a poll lead for the entirety of my time in the Shadow Cabinet, and that didn't end well at all. Do you think he needs to apologise over his position on Brexit to win those voters back?
I mean, we're in a post-Brexit world now. We've listened to the electorate. People have moved on, and we've got to ensure that we can actually ensure that Brexit works. Okay. I think it's challenging, but that's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do. We've listened to the electorate. The electorate spoke, didn't they? So we move on.
It's been great to have you both with us. An all-Northern panel. We're all in favour of that on this show.
East Midlands, Gloria. East Midlands.